All right, we're recording. So welcome everybody. This is the Rising Stars call, the last one of 2015. I can hardly believe that. It is December 30th. So we have some end of year stuff to talk about, and I am excited to be the guest host this morning while Melanie is hopefully sleeping in. So I'm gonna share my screen with you, and let me do that real quick. Let me put this in the percent now. There we go. So this is kind of our chat for this morning. As I was talking in the group, I kind of thought, this time of year gets, well, pretty much every week in this business gets to this point where we get to Thursdays and you either get super excited because you hit a milestone or somebody on your team's hit a milestone, or, you kind of want to run and hide or just stay off the computer altogether because maybe you didn't hit the milestone or something like that. And then end of the year, there's such a push for elite or premier or a certain rank or the new leaders conference or whatever. And it just gets to be a point where, again, you can be so excited and, or you can want to run away. But I just kind of wanted to open up that discussion, especially among leaders, because I have to tell you, I'm 5-star, and I say that to you because that means if you're not aware, there's this thing called the wall, where once you hit 5-star, you kind of get to be a part of this secret Facebook group where you're among some of the really amazing leaders. And there was actually a post in there earlier in the week about this very thing, that even the top of the top leaders feel this. They feel the comparison issue, and they feel the end of the year push, and it's worth talking about because, well, the person that posted it in the group, that this topic, of the top leaders, I think there were like 170 something people who liked this, which tells me, and then underneath it, there were like 74 comments or something, and just tells me that this issue is real for everybody. So we might as well just kind of bring it to light and open it up for some discussion. So, so that's what we're going to try and do today a little bit. So I just want to tell you a little bit more about me before we get started. So I am Kathleen Petula, and I am a mom of 3 boys. My boys are 8, 6, and 3, and a wife. And I also have, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, which in Pennsylvania basically means I can do therapy and counseling and stuff like that. I have a psychology background. Prior to Beachbody, I worked in oncology. So I ran support groups for people living with cancer, people who had a diagnosis, friends and family members, and I did some groups with kids. And that has surprisingly led, everybody brings strengths into this business that may or may not have to do with the actual business themselves. But those kinds of things are the things that are going to help me in talking with you today. So I want to kind of go back to my psychology roots. I actually quit my full-time job. It was actually a semi-full-time, sort of a 32-hour week job, to do Beachbody stuff about 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago. And I actually did that before my financial income showed that. So I actually did it a little backwards than some people. I decided to resign from my job before I had the income to match because I wanted this to work so much. So talk about pushing you to make this business work. Just go ahead and quit first, and then it's sort of like you don't have an option, you gotta make it work. But I'll talk more about that later. But anyway, so my original fitness why I got started in the first place was that I, like a lot of people, had my 3rd son, and I couldn't fit back into my pants. It was a tough pregnancy for me, and I gained more weight with my 3rd than I had with my other 2. And I couldn't button my pants, and it was so frustrating. And a friend of mine was having her first baby, and we knew we were done, and I wanted to pass along all of my maternity clothes. And then I was realizing I was still wearing the pants and I couldn't give them to her. And I also was in a place, our family was in a place where I just couldn't afford, and I didn't want to afford, a new wardrobe of bigger pants. So that was my original why. It wasn't this pretty, kind of do it for my children or my family. Exactly. It was much more of I just need to fit into my pants. My business why is a little bit different. The reason why I left my job was because I was running these groups and I was feeling this really significant burnout, and my job was into the night. So I worked 10-hour days so that I could cram in, I could do most of my work and be home with my kids 2 days a week. I would cram in a lot of work. So I worked 10-hour days and I was working into the evenings. I worked every other Saturday and I was starting to miss out stuff with my kids. And I did not like that anymore. My kids were getting old enough that they were starting to do activities, and I didn't want to miss that. So I was looking for something that would allow me to be home with them more and allow me to not miss things. So those are my original whys. They've sort of shifted and changed as I've moved forward. And I want to tell you a little bit more about that as we go. I'm just going to pause for a second and just mute everybody, and so we can talk more at the end. But just for the moment, I'm just going to mute you guys so we can get a better recording. Okay. Okay, so that's a little bit more about me. So I just want to get on to now the topic at hand here. And it's this idea, why do we compare ourselves? Why does it matter what somebody else is doing, and why do we allow it to affect us so much when things happen in this business in particular? And so I was giving this a lot of thought and trying to put on my psychology hat, my social worker hat. And the first one that's glaring is that this business is so public. It's ridiculous. It's unlike most other businesses. My husband and I joked that he actually got a promotion probably a year ago or so. And we were like, well, it's not really official till we put it on Facebook, which is, of course, ridiculous, right? His job isn't on Facebook, so nobody else gets to know his promotion. Or if he got a raise or whatever, if he had a bonus or something. No other business out there is so social about rank advancements or promotions or bonuses or whatever. I mean, and there's a good and bad to that. Of course, that helps us grow our businesses, but the other side of that is that we all see it and we all have to somehow deal with it when it's us or when it's not us. So that's, I think, one reason why we really compare ourselves to other people. But the other one is, and this is probably the bigger one, is that this business, somebody told me this a while back, this business exposes all of our stuff. You call it whatever you want, our issues, our, somebody said demons, that's not my favorite term for that, but it's the same idea that we all bring to the table stuff, issues. And this business is, because it's so unique, because we don't have a boss, we don't have somebody telling us what to do. This business actually exposes some of those things that in another job where you just kind of go in, punch the time clock, whatever, like those issues aren't brought to the surface, but in this business they are. And I feel like that's another reason why we do some comparing and we feel so uncomfortable and we feel so stressed. And it's kind of like the transition for those of us that went to college, that high school to college. Like if you went away to college, it's kind of like that transition where there's nobody telling you, to get up, to do your homework. There's no person over you anymore. And so that can help people to flourish, and that can help people to feel really uncomfortable. So that's the other thing. And I want you to know that we all have stuff that comes up with this business. It's just kind of a, what do you do with it that makes the real difference. So of course you knew this was coming, right? Personal development is the king. And I think the key though is that we say personal development all the time, but it's so vague. Like, what does that really mean? And yeah, you can go out and get a good book or something like that, but it may not resonate with you. The book may not be the one for you because it may not be on the issue that you're trying to work on. But the beauty of this business, I feel, is that we have this amazing opportunity to work through some of our long-term stuff, some of our long-term issues that in another job, if you worked at a shoe store, you wouldn't have any kind of opportunity, I don't think. It would be rare, I guess, to work on any of your issues. But this business actually helps grow the whole person, right? And I love this little quote: "A boat is safe in the harbor, but this is not the purpose of the boat." And I feel like for everybody in this business, you could go with a safe job where you didn't expose some of these things that are going to be hard to face within yourself. But that's not why you're here, I don't think. That's not why I'm here. The purpose of being here is to create, I feel, a meaningful and happy life. And this job allows that opportunity on so many levels, not just financial, not just physical, but within ourselves to create something amazing. So how do we do that? How do we make it so that we actually get the right personal development, or that we fine tune what we're trying to do in the bigger picture of life? And I think the first thing is awareness. The first thing is realizing what our actual issues might be. And this isn't something that's necessarily easy to do, or maybe it's glaring, maybe it's staring you right in the face. But this is a pretty famous psychologist, Carl Jung, who says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So basically what that means is that we have these beliefs within us that we may or may not be aware of. And often we are not aware of that. And if we can bring them to the surface, bring them to our consciousness, then we can work with them, we can deal with them. So I have this picture of soup here, and it's just to create an analogy with you. So somebody told me this once before, and I thought it was so great. Everybody has this kind of family of origin, this history, this whatever you want to call it. And it's like a pot of soup, right? Because there are millions of different kinds of soups out there, but your pot is you, right? So maybe you're chicken noodle soup, or maybe you're whatever kind of soup. But so you have this mix of everything that's been your past and that makes you you. And you go about eating your soup and it's great and whatever. But what you may or may not realize is that there are many different kinds of soups out there in the world. There are so many other kinds of things and you might want to add a bit of this and a bit of that. But it's kind of like coming to the realization that one way of doing it is not the only way of doing it. And I feel like I need to rediscover that all the time. But for any of you that have seen National Lampoon, that movie, it's the one with Nicolas Cage. And when he discovers the treasure, like he walks into the first room and he sees that there's a little bit of gold. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie, but anyway, I'm going to try and recreate it for you. And then when he lights these fire things and you see the fire go up, it like lights the whole room. And it's like this entire room full of treasures and abundance and whatever. And I feel like that's true with each of us, that we start with this kind of one thing and you're focused and you kind of don't even realize what it is. But then you'll like start realizing that there are so many ways to be successful. There are so many ways that you can be a better person, that you can fulfill whatever it is you want to fulfill. So anyway, I just love that image that that's possible. So I feel like that's the first thing to start with. If you find yourself comparing yourself to others and kind of getting stuck in that rut, is to just create some awareness around what it is for you that maybe you're stuck in, that's holding you back, what it is about, you're focused on just that one pot of soup when there are all these other ways to be. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is huge, this was a huge aha moment for me, probably a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 at this point. But fine tuning your why. So I read the book, and this guy was Simon Sinek, was at Summit this past year. And he has the book Start With Why, and it's amazing. And this is one of the quotes from it. Companies with a clear sense of why tend to ignore their competition, whereas those with a fuzzy sense of why are obsessed with what others are doing. And that really hit a chord with me. And I mean, you could sub out the word companies, of course, for individuals. What it translated to me is, this is my interpretation of that quote: if you're stuck comparing yourself to others, you don't have a strong enough why. And I sort of told you in the beginning that my why was, fitting back in my pants for my fitness journey. And, kind of originally, I didn't personally start out with the why that I wanted to help others, because that's part of, my social work degree. That's kind of inherent in that. But I know lots of people that say that's their why. And that they want to do it for their families or something like that. But that might not be strong enough. I just want to plant that seed with you, that it might not be a strong enough why if you're finding yourself comparing yourself to other people. You might want to dive into that a little bit more. What does that mean to you? What does your family mean? What does the money mean to you? What can you do? And we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But I just wanted to tell you a little story on this particular topic, why this quote stood out to me so much. So, so when I was growing up, I grew up with one sister, and she's 2 years older than me. And my parents pretty much treated us like we were more twins than there was one older, one younger. And basically what that meant for me is that everything my sister did, it was assumed that I would do. So if she participated in an activity, I was to participate in that activity. And she's 5 inches taller than me, and she's super smart and whatever. And so all the time it was comparisons, and if she's doing it, I have to do it. If she did it, then I have to do, try and do better than that or whatever. And I didn't even realize that kind of competitive, like needing to please my parents and all that kind of stuff. This is some of my stuff that this business has brought up for me. I didn't even realize that was some of the reasons why I was doing things, was not because I actually wanted to or because they were part of my personal why, but because I just needed to do better than she did. And when I realized this, it actually felt like there was this weight that was lifted off my shoulders. Like, oh, like if I'm not actually interested in that, it doesn't even matter what she's doing, what I'm doing. I mean, she can do it and love it, and I don't have to do it, and that's fine. And I can do something totally different. And there doesn't have to be any comparison at all if what I'm doing is what I really want to be doing, and what she's doing is what she really wants to be doing. So anyway, I just wanted to throw this out there for you, that if you're in that place, maybe you had a similar upbringing, maybe you had a sibling or something like that you always felt like you were in competition with, that if you can abandon the comparing and focus on what you're actually doing and why you're actually doing it, that you love what you're doing, it won't matter so much what anybody else is doing. So that book, again, Start With Why. If anybody wants these at the end, I can put a little list of the books that I referenced. Okay, so then that brought us to the quote that I put in the group. A flower does not think of competing to the flower next to it. It just blooms. And I just love that. It's just about being successful. It's not about what anybody else is doing. There is abundance, which we'll talk about more in a few minutes here. And we can all be successful, and it doesn't have to be one versus another. Everybody can be. 1 second here. Okay, so the next one is knowing your core values. So this is from my good friend Aaron Hardy, who of course is the author of The Compound Effect. If you haven't read that one yet either, it's amazing. So this really stood out to me. When your actions conflict with your values, you'll end up unhappy, frustrated, and despondent. Nothing creates more stress. So in other words, in real terms, what this means is if you say, like I did, I'm doing this business for my family because I want to spend more time with my family, and yet you find yourself not spending time with your family and doing this business and not making your family time a priority, then you're going to create some stress and you're going to feel unhappy and frustrated. If your core values, whatever that means to you, maybe it's something else besides family, maybe it's whatever, helping other people or volunteering your time or whatever. If those core values are not in line with your actions, then you're going to be feeling it. And I'm not saying that we don't need to sacrifice a few things to get to a bigger goal, but I'm saying on the whole, know what your most important values are. And if you haven't read that book, or even if you have, it's worth remembering that he has a tool to help you do that. It's here, and I'll post this in the group again. Core Values Assessment, and it's actually just this kind of quick, although you don't have to make it quick, it's like 2.5 page paper that you can print out, and you can just go through, and it just helps you think through. Maybe you're not sure, or maybe it's changing, as it kind of has for me. What are your core values? What do you really want out of this business? And I'll give you a hint. In general, it's not money necessarily. It's what can the money do? What do you want to do with the money? Or it's not necessarily to be healthy. Like, what does that mean to you? What does health mean to you? All that kind of stuff. So it needs to be a little bit deeper, is what I'm trying to say. And then once you have that in line, it will make things so much less stressful, so much easier. So you can ask yourself, does, for example, in this case, does comparing myself to other people align with my core values? Yes, then worry about it. No, then don't worry about it. Don't look back. Keep doing what you're doing. So I think that that's really valuable to get that in place. It kind of goes along with your why, but I think it's a little bit more than that. Okay, and finally, this is my last point here. Trust the process. So this is sometimes why we compare ourselves to others is that we lose faith in what we're doing and that what we're doing works. And I think that I hope that you'll find this a little bit cool, because I think I did. Our business journey is so much like our fitness journey and the journey that we ask our challengers to take with us. And actually, this journey can be compared in so many ways. And we have such an advantage if you've personally gone through any kind of transformation, physical transformation, or if you've been a part of somebody else's physical transformation, you have such a leg up on other people, other business people, because the journey is such a parallel to our business journey, to a spiritual journey, to anything else. There are so many reasons why it's such a great example. So here's kind of round one of that. In our fitness journey, we tell our challengers it's not a sprint, it's not a quick fix. Well, guess what? In our business journey, it's not a sprint, it's not a get rich quick scheme. In our fitness journey, our progress is consistent over time. In other words, you're not going to see a change on the scale after day one or week one necessarily, but over time, that's what's going to happen. And the same is true for business. We tell them in their fitness journey, it's in the daily routine, it's in doing the same thing, pushing play even if you don't want to, eating right even if you don't want to, the daily routine, the habit that you make. And guess what? The same is true for our business journey. It's in our fitness journey, surrounding ourselves with people who are doing the same things, pushing us, helping us become better, and the same with our business journey. But it keeps going from there, right? And in our fitness journey, we tell people all the time, don't get caught up with the scale. Don't look at the scale every day. And the same is true with our business journey. Don't get caught up with the rank or whatever's bothering you, the recognition. And this is probably my favorite one right here, that I tell people all the time, weight loss is a byproduct of proper nutrition. And I feel like in our fitness journey, the recognition or the rank advancement is a byproduct of consistency in this business. So in other words, if somebody is focused on a certain weight, then what they do, it becomes less important because that number is their focus. And I feel like if only they would focus on what they're putting into their body, what they're fueling their body with, if they're doing the clean eating, if they're putting Shakeology in their body, then the weight loss will naturally happen because weight loss is a byproduct of proper nutrition, right? And I feel like it's the same in this business, that recognition, rank advancements, those things will happen naturally if we're doing the consistent behaviors of this business. And then to kind of take that another step, we ask our challengers to focus on non-scale victories, how their pants fit. If they could do something more today than they could do yesterday with a weight or something like that. And the same should be true for us in this business. We should focus on non-rank victories, non-recognition victories, to keep ourselves going strong. And then this last point here, so I was at the New Leaders Conference last January, and I heard Trina Gray was one of our speakers. She's amazing. And excuse me, she kind of said this to us, and I want to say it to you. Setting yourself up for success, aligning your core values, means that if you find yourself in a place, in a group, in a whatever, where you're not getting nurtured or you don't feel like you belong, you have permission to not be a part of that, right? So if you, in this comparison, if you're on your fitness journey and you're seeing people posting on Facebook themselves in bikinis or whatever, and that motivates you, awesome. But if that doesn't motivate you, if that actually makes you feel bad, then you have permission to block that or not follow that or whatever you need to do. And it doesn't align with what you want, what your why is. So block it and don't look back. And you know, maybe at some point and you'll reassess that and it'll be different for you. But the same is true in our business goals. If you're motivated and inspired by seeing other people's success, that's awesome. But if that makes you not feel bad, if that makes you feel bad, if that makes you not feel like that's something you want to see, then you have permission, if you need it from me, to block that. You don't have to have negative things that don't empower you in your life over and over again. So take that and sit with that and decide which things are helping empower you and inspire you and which things are bringing you down. And even if you just need to take a break from them, you can do that. Okay, and then finally here, on our fitness journey, what we tell our challengers, right, is that it's why power over willpower that will get you through temptations, off days, and slip-ups. So it's focusing on something specific that, that is their why. So for me, for example, why power in the beginning was I didn't want to pay for a new wardrobe of pants. And that helped get me through some of the temptations, the days off, whatever. For some of them, it's posting a picture of their before picture where they can see it, right? And that's their why power. And or maybe it's posting a picture of them in a bikini on the beach, and that's their why power. You know, whatever it is that will help get them through the temptations. But the same is true for our business journey. So we have to remember, you know, whatever equivalent that might be in your business journey. So maybe you want to send your family on a vacation this summer and you need X number of dollars for that. That's the why power. It's not in the comparison to somebody else that's going to get you there. It's going to be in seeing that picture. No, and just like in the fitness journey, it doesn't even make sense for our challengers to, if they have, you know, 20 pounds to lose, it doesn't even make sense for them to compare to somebody that has 100 pounds to lose, right? Or maybe they actually need to gain weight. It doesn't make any sense for them to compare to somebody who needs to lose weight. The same is true for our business journeys. Our journeys are ours, and you can't compare to anybody else because it doesn't even make sense to do that. Okay, so back to the why power. I already kind of alluded to this. Your why power is, so the hint is that it's not to help others. It can't just be that. It's too vague. It's not for my family, even though I love these three right here. And it's also not for the money. It needs to be something more than that. It needs to be, in our fitness journey, something specific, something measurable, something attainable, relevant, time-bound. But the same is true for our business journey, right? It needs to be something specific that we're looking for. So maybe you want to pay off whatever. Maybe you already know this, something specific, a pay off a loan or whatever it is. It needs to be measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound in both. And having those vague general goals is basically like not having a specific direction when you're traveling somewhere. And where are you going to go? Who knows? But if you have a specific goal in mind, then you'll get there. Now, this is probably my favorite quote of all, and I think for me it helps define this business. This is actually from Jen Sincero in the You Are a Badass book, which I also can't recommend highly enough. Losing weight isn't just about losing weight, it's about who you become and what you believe is possible for yourself. Now, that's the one she actually said. This is my translation of it. Success in this business isn't just about this business, it's about who you become and what you believe is possible for yourself in the business, right? And it translates into our lives. So success in this business isn't just about a rank or a recognition, status, or whatever. It's about what you believe is possible for your life, for you. And one final note here, actually, I think there's one more after this, but almost at the end here. This is an ongoing process. It's like in fitness, you don't arrive. I mean, maybe you hit your goal weight, but you need to have systems in place to remind yourself to stay on track, to remind yourself why you went through the fitness, why you got to that point in the first place. You need to keep going with nutrition long after you hit your goal weight because you want to maintain it, because you want to keep moving forward. Maybe you want to hit a different milestone. Maybe it's going to change a little bit. But the same is true in this business. And just as I was saying in the beginning, those people at the top of this business still have to remind themselves about comparisons and remind themselves why they got started. They may have to fine tune or tweak their why again. And you don't in the whole thing, you don't like arrive and are done doing it. It's an ongoing thing. It's a, you know, a marathon. It's not a sprint. All those things that are true in fitness are true in this business as well. So metaphorically speaking, cover up that little number on the scale in our business. Remind yourself that you're amazing, and then keep going. Okay, and this is my last one. So I don't know if any of you are into reality TV, watch The Voice or American Idol or whatever, but I just thought this was such a great analogy for our business. I think a lot of us get caught up in some of this stuff because we feel like there's not enough to go around. You know, maybe we didn't enter into this business when somebody else did. Somebody else has the upper leg because they've been doing this longer than us, or maybe they got in a different place in the downline or whatever. But there's a reason why shows like The Voice and American Idol can continue to keep going on and on and on. And it's because there's abundance. There's so many people out there, and people want to keep, why do we keep having more and more singers be introduced to our lives and to the to media and all that stuff? Because we love it. We love this person for this reason, and we love that person for another reason, and we want to buy this person's record for that song, and we want to buy that person's for that song. And there's enough. There's more than enough to go around for everybody. And I just kind of want to remind us of that. So even though Melanie has this huge success and she has all these people under her, there's still plenty of people out there that we can help, that we can introduce this opportunity to. And it's not like there's a set one set thing about it. It's something that we can all tap into. There's just come from a place of abundance where you know that there's enough out there for everybody. Okay, so that is the end. Wait 1 second. So anyway, I hope that something in there made sense to you, and I can put down in our group some of the books I referenced and how to get to that core value assessment. But does anybody have anything that you wanted to say? Any questions, or otherwise I can unmute you guys now. All right. Well, thanks for getting on. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know that this is right in the middle of holidays, and it's good to see all of your faces. Stop recording now.